The Presto GranPappy countertop deep fryer. Is it man cave worthy? Does it cook real deal delicious food? Does it have problems like maybe cooking a little bit hot? We're going to find out today as we take a look at this guy. We're going to run through its stats and vitals. Then we're going to do a little man cave style cooking. Let's jump in and get started. Hi and welcome to Uncle Scott's Kitchen. I got this Presto GranPappy in a couple of weeks ago, and I've been enjoying it so far. I'm going to say right at the top, not to give everything away, it's great at some things it's not so good at. So we'll get into that here in just a few minutes. Now in the box, what you get is the fryer itself. You also get a lid, removable lid. You get a scoop spatula thing for getting your food in and out, and a power cord. So pretty simple right there. This is the GranPappy. This here is a Fry Daddy. Most people are familiar with the brand name Fry Daddy. These guys have actually been around, been sold since the 1970s. So if your consumer product has been around almost 50 years and is still selling, you're probably doing something pretty well. Right off the bat, the Fry Daddy holds 4 cups of oil, and the GranPappy 50% larger at 6 cups of oil. So you get 50% more cooking capacity compared to the Fry Daddy, or with the Fry Daddy you get 1/3 less than with the GranPappy. What do you think about that for just a second? Now these Fry Daddies, these GranPappys, what they're known for is convenience and simplicity. There are no controls. There's no thermostat. There's no clock to set, thank goodness. You plug the thing in and it's on. It runs at one temperature. And right at the top here, I'm going to say that lack of thermostat, that lack of temperature control, it's great for ease and convenience. When we do some of the real deal cooking, that might turn into a little bit of a problem. So we'll see about that here in just a minute. But very simple. If you're cooking for one person, I cook for my 5-year-old son. I'll cook some French fries, some tater tots, or some chicken nuggets. Cooking for one, maybe 2 people, this Fry Daddy is just fine as far as capacity. If you're cooking for more people, or if you're just one of those old fried food fatties, playing video games in your mother's basement and just want more in a batch, the GranPappy is definitely the way to go. There's really not that much difference in footprint size. If you're getting a fryer and having it on your countertop anyway, I think the GranPappy, well worth that little bit of extra size. The interior has a fill line. That's where you fill your oil up to. You want to get that oil in there before you plug the unit in, because there's no on-off switch, there are no controls. You plug it in and it's on. So you definitely want the oil in there before you start using the unit, before you start heating the unit. As far as preheat time, the manual says 15 minutes. In my real world basement man cave kitchen down here, usually about 10, 11 minutes, and mine was well up to temperature. That frying temperature, I took a bunch of readings with my Thermopen 1. If you're going to do some frying, especially if you're going to cook things like raw chicken, you definitely need some sort of thermometer. I was getting frying temperatures 372, 373 to the high 370. So that is very hot as far as frying. As far as oil goes, you definitely want an oil that has a smoking temperature, smoking point temperature, well above that frying temperature. So things like canola should be good, vegetable oil, peanut oil works really well, much higher smoking points there, and those are good for deep frying. But you want to avoid things like extra virgin olive oil, that type of thing that has a lower smoking point. You don't want to run into trouble there. It's got a handle, so very convenient for moving it around. And the manual says you can store your oil in the fryer. Whether you want to store oil in a non-stick container longer term, I think it's okay for frying for 10, 15 minutes, but storing oil in a non-stick container, it's your choice if you want to do that or not. If you're going to do that though, what you want to do is pour the oil out once the unit has cooled down after you've fried your food. Make sure it's filtered, make sure you pour that clean oil off the top. Then clean the unit, get any kinds of crumbs and any kind of frying gunk out of there, and then pour that filtered oil back in to store it. Then you just pop your lid on, and you can store the oil in the unit. So that's pretty nice. As far as cost goes, when I bought mine, I paid, and I've had this Fry Daddy for well over a year now, in the mid $30 range for the old Fry Daddy, $35 or so. And this GranPappy, I paid about $45 or so, 45 and change. For the first cooking test here, let's start out with some consumer packaged goods. This is not really fancy cooking, but this is right in that kind of GranPappy Fry Daddy wheelhouse. This is your Ore-Ida frozen French fries, your tater tots, your chicken nuggets, the kind of convenience foods where these guys really shine. So I've got 12 chicken nuggets here, got the fryer heated up. Took about 12 minutes to come up to temperature, had canola oil in there up to the fill line. And after about 3 minutes, 12 chicken nuggets done nicely. In goes some Ore-Ida fries, and these cooked up nicely as well. Now, while these fries might seem a little mundane here, I do want to point out one thing about fried food taste quality. I am concurrently reviewing an air fryer, and there's always a debate here on air fryer food. It might be a little bit healthier. Does it taste as good as fried? I made some Ore-Ida frozen fries in that air fryer, and my wife and son ate them up. The next day, they didn't realize I was doing this. I came down to the basement, and same bag of fries, deep fried them in the GranPappy. I took some up to my wife and said, "Here, try these. Tell me what you think." And she said, "These are way better. What'd you do?" And I said, "I deep fried them." So even though people may not want to hear this, especially the air fryer fans out there, the food cooked deep fried in the GranPappy significantly better, or at least tastier, than what I cooked in that air fryer. Now, if I were to opine, and technically I guess I am opining, I think these bags of frozen consumer packaged goods, that's really the GranPappy's wheelhouse there. I think that's probably one reason the thermostat is set so high, because people take these foods directly from the freezer, frozen, put them in, that oil temperature is going to drop, and this thing is powerful enough to rebound and cook those frozen foods at a really high temperature. So those get done pretty quickly. Let's jump up to some man cave cooking now, what we're really interested in around here. And I'm going to start with some chicken wings. And here is a good illustration of the capacity difference between the GranPappy and the Fry Daddy. When I buy a pack of fresh chicken wings at my local grocery store, they're raw and they come in a package of 8. You get 4 drumettes and 4 flats. And in my mind, this is an order of chicken wings. They will not fit all at one time in the Fry Daddy, but the GranPappy, I am happy to say, the entire order of 8 wings will fit in the GranPappy at once. Easiest recipe in the world here, and all I did was fry these guys up. They were up to temperature at about 9 minutes or so, but I let them go 11, 12 minutes to get just a little bit of color and crunch and texture on the outside of the chicken wing. And I put those in a bowl and hit them with some Frank's wing sauce. And then I followed up with an order of fries. And we asked, is this GranPappy man cave worthy? We can cook sports bar quality chicken wings, fresh chicken wings, and fries. And I think it did a great job with these, so it is definitely man cave worthy. I showed these to my wife. I was pretty proud of my sports bar man cave down here. And I said, you know, how about now one of those little skimpy sports bar waitress type outfits? And she said, okay, just make sure they have them in your size. Okay, now let's move up and do a little bit of what I call real deal cooking. The other stuff was real, but here I want to cook some more raw chicken. And here's where we're going to see that very high cooking temperature may not be a benefit when it comes to cooking foods like this. I'm going to make some hand-dipped, hand-breaded chicken tenders. I make this same recipe every time I review a fryer, and it's one of those things I can kind of keep it consistent between reviews and really compare fryers apples to apples or chicken tenders to chicken tenders, if you will. I'll put a link to the recipe below the video. I've done a whole video on this recipe. And if you're interested in making some of your own, check the description below. And here I've got a little assembly line set up. I've got my raw chicken on the left, the fryer in the middle, and a place to put the cooked chicken on the right there. And what you want to avoid here, I'm a little bit of a nut about this, raw chicken, germs, kitchen cleanliness, if I could speak. I don't want any cross-contamination. So I go as far as to have one set of tongs, even though they're going into hot oil, one set of tongs for the raw chicken. Then when I remove the cooked chicken, I have another set of tongs there. So you definitely don't want to cross-contaminate with raw chicken. And I've got the fryer heated up, and in go some chicken tenders. And what we see here is that after 3.5 minutes or so, the outside is getting really brown and it's getting nice. I take some of these out and I temp them. Use my Thermopin 1 here and take some readings. And what I found is that the outside, it looks like the batter is set up and the outside is getting done. The chicken is not up to temp on the inside. So you can be fooled by this just a little bit. And what you got to do is put it back in there and make sure you get that raw chicken. This is white meat, so you definitely want 160, 165 around there for it to be thoroughly cooked. But with this higher cooking temperature up there between 370 and 380, what I'm running into is that the outside is getting done before that interior is fully cooked. If I let the chicken tenders go, and I did this over several tenders here, if I just let them go until the interior is done, the outsides were getting too dark. You don't want any kind of burnt batter flavor on your chicken tenders. So what I came up with to do here to mitigate this is set up an interim station there in my little assembly line, and I started par cooking the chicken tenders. I would put them in for 2 minutes, take them out, put some other ones in, and then kind of reverse them there and kind of let the heat from the outside transfer to the middle just a little bit, and then put them back in to finish the cooking. And this worked a lot better, but you shouldn't really have to do that. Now, as I mentioned, I make these chicken tenders often. I use the same recipe over many videos. My wife said this batch here, for whatever reason, was the best batch I had ever made. She said the chicken was very, very tender and juicy, and the flavor was fantastic. So I think the GranPappy produced some delicious food. It's just that I don't think you should have to do that interim kind of par cooking step in between. So it added steps and added complexity. I think the thermostat on this guy is so high for those consumer packaged frozen foods. If you're cooking raw chicken like this, it may not be optimized for that. I think if instead of cooking between 370 and 380, if this were down 345, 350, 360, somewhere around there, the timing on those chicken tenders would have been absolutely perfect without that interim par cooking step. Now, if you were cooking bigger pieces of chicken, bone-in chicken, the problem would obviously be even worse. Now, as far as fryer oil, we mentioned that you can store your used oil in the unit. Once it gets to looking about like this, I'm going to call this oil done. I made fries, I made chicken nuggets, I've made the chicken wings and these hand-breaded chicken tenders. Once you start getting up into that hand-breaded chicken tenders, especially anything that's got buttermilk with that flour, it leaves a lot of gunk in the oil, and the chicken really imparts some flavor and color to the oil. I'm going to call this done, and I'm going to zip this on down to the old recycling center so they can make it into biodiesel immediately. Now, I've got other videos on fryer tips and how many times you can use your cooking oil. Look for links to those in the description below the video. I'm going to point out, though, that these fryers put out a lot of steam, and that steam carries little grease, micro grease droplets with it. I encourage people to get these on your stovetop underneath your vent hood if you can when you're frying. That also helps to mitigate some of the mess. Here I am. I can't even pour oil into a fryer from a container without making a big mess. If you've got a flat top stove, that can kind of contain some of the mess, and almost it doesn't matter how careful you try to be when you fry stuff like chicken. There's going to be some splatter and some grease around. So try and keep that mess contained as well as possible. Also, this unit has a non-stick coating on the interior, and you don't want to go digging around in there with metal tongs. If you can, get some tongs. If you're going to use tongs, some tongs with those high heat safe silicone soft tips, and that will work a lot better, and you won't scratch the non-stick coating off the interior of your fryer. Okay, so at the top we asked, is the GranPappy a man cave worthy fryer? I think yes, we answered that. Delicious fries, frozen foods, chicken wings, definitely man cave worthy there. Can you do real deal cooking in it? Well, kind of, sort of, but probably not optimized for that. Is it a good fryer for your money? I think kind of in that below $50 range where I paid for mine. I think it's a pretty good bargain there, and I think it's a good addition to a man cave. I think if you have a little bit more money to spend on a fryer, you get much above $50, and even Presto makes models in this range as well. Then you get things like on-off switches, baskets, lids that can kind of contain some mess while the frying is going on, and most importantly, a thermostat so you can cook things at different temperatures. I think the ease and convenience of the GranPappy is really good. A thermostat would be better if you want to do that more real deal cooking like we saw with the hand-breaded chicken tenders. Now, as far as the most important thing though, this thing, it produced a lot of delicious food. Deep fried fries, much better than air fryer fries. The chicken tenders I made, my wife said the best ones I have ever made. So it did crank out a lot of delicious food. So I'm going to give the GranPappy a 2/3 thumbs up. A good fryer and good value in its category. Much better fryers out there though if you have a little bit more to spend. Uncle Scott's Kitchen, however, gets a full thumbs up. And if you've enjoyed this video and found it helpful and you think you might want to get one of these for yourself, a nice thing to do is go through those affiliate shopping links below. I buy all this stuff with my own money. I'm one of the only reviewers around that buys all his own stuff, so you know my opinions are my own. It helps out if you do go through those affiliate shopping links. Make sure you leave your questions, comments, and feedback below. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you again next time on Uncle Scott's Kitchen.